Chapter 1. When Hunger Became Law. Human cannibalism is often imagined as savagery, madness, or myth, yet history shows that in rare, extreme circumstances, eating the dead became a structured survival response, not an act of cruelty. Across isolated regions of the world, particularly in Papua New Guinea, parts of the Amazon basin, and drought-stricken islands of Melanesia, entire villages practiced endo-cannibalism. Chapter 1. When Hunger Became Law. Human cannibalism is often imagined as savagery, madness, or myth, yet history shows that in rare, extreme circumstances, eating the dead became a structured survival response, not an act of cruelty. Across isolated regions of the world, particularly in Papua New Guinea, parts of the Amazon basin, and drought-stricken islands of Melanesia, entire villages practiced endo-cannibalism, the ritual consumption of deceased community members. These practices did not arise from violence or moral collapse. They emerged where land was infertile, hunting was unreliable, and seasonal famine could wipe out entire clans. In such environments, death was frequent, and wasting a body was seen as wasteful, even sinful. To these communities, the dead were not food. They were continuing members of the living world. Chapter 2. The Four People of Papua New Guinea. The most documented case comes from the Four tribe, who lived in the eastern highlands of Papua New Guinea. Until the mid-20th century, the Four practiced ritual cannibalism as part of funeral rites. When a villager died, the body was divided according to social roles. Women and children consumed the brain and internal organs. Men ate muscle meat or abstained entirely. The act was believed to absorb the strength, memories, and spirits of the deceased. To refuse was seen as abandoning the dead to rot, an unthinkable dishonor. Importantly, no one was killed for food. Cannibalism occurred only after natural death. Chapter 3. Survival Disguised as Ritual. Anthropologists once assumed these practices were purely spiritual. Later research revealed a harsher truth: nutrition. The Four lived in a region with poor protein availability, limited animal sources, frequent crop failure. Human remains provided essential fats and proteins, especially crucial for women and children. Over generations, what began as survival slowly transformed into custom, then tradition, then sacred obligation. Ritual gave meaning to desperation. Chapter 4. The Curse Called Kuru. By the 1950s, missionaries and colonial administrators noticed something terrifying: a mysterious disease spreading through foray villages. It caused uncontrollable trembling, loss of coordination, laughter during agony, eventual death. The foray called it kuru, meaning shivering death. Entire villages were dying, mostly women and children. Western doctors were baffled. No bacteria, no virus, no cure. Chapter 5. Science Discovers a Forbidden Truth. In 1957, physician Dr. Carlton Gajdusek linked kuru to ritual cannibalism, specifically consumption of the human brain. The disease was caused by prions, malformed proteins that destroy brain tissue. When eaten, these proteins passed silently from body to body. Cannibalism had turned survival into biological catastrophe. When the practice stopped under colonial pressure, kuru cases declined, but not immediately. Some victims developed symptoms 30 years later, proving how deeply tradition had marked the body. Chapter 6. Other Villages That Ate Their Dead. The Four were not alone. Amazonian tribes practiced endo-cannibalism to keep ancestors within the tribe. Melanesian islanders consumed the dead during famine seasons. Ancient Tibetan sky burial communities sometimes consumed remains during extreme scarcity. Madagascar's Famadihana ritual symbolically reused the dead during times of hardship. In each case, cannibalism was contextual, not constant, activated by environmental collapse or isolation. Chapter 7: Colonial Erasure and Misunderstanding. European colonizers labeled these villages as barbaric without understanding the conditions that created such customs. Missionaries banned the practices immediately, often without providing alternative food sources. Ironically, starvation deaths increased in some regions after cannibalism was outlawed. History judged these villages harshly, but never judged the hunger that shaped them. Chapter 8: Moral Horror or Human Adaptation. Modern ethics recoil at cannibalism, yet history forces an uncomfortable question. What would civilization become if survival demanded the unthinkable? These villages did not celebrate death, they endured it. Cannibalism was not pleasure, it was continuation. The dead fed the living carried the dead. The village survived. Chapter 9: Why this history was buried. This story rarely appears in textbooks because it challenges comforting narratives. Civilization versus savagery, morality versus necessity, science versus culture. It shows that under enough pressure, human values bend, not break.